This book, also known as I Am Reborn, Becoming the #1 in the World is Not Too Much, recommends a book called Douluo. Becoming a God from Swallowing the Tang 3 Soul Rings. Why? Why can't you just look back at me? If you don't like me cursing, I won't curse anymore. I allow you to promise with your own life. In the previous life, each one only realized who was the best person before he died. Revive a lifetime. White Moonlight waved at him, wanting to sit with him. But he brushed past it and chose the rebellious and domineering flower. Why doesn't he sit at his desk? Did he take the wrong medicine today? He insists on sitting with himself. Time flies, and all disappointments will eventually become the most beautiful expectations. Newcomers and new books, please support us. Keywords of the novel. I choose Rebel King Flower, White Moonlight. Why are you crying without pop-ups? I choose Rebel King Flower, White Moonlight. Why are you crying? Download the complete text. I choose Rebel King Flower, White Moonlight. Why are you crying? Latest chapters to read. Chapter 1. Returning to High School. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Returning to high school. Why? Why do you never look back at me? Look at how you're doing now. Sigh. Under the huge sun, there is a bloody smell everywhere. A graceful figure fell to the ground. Despite her stunning appearance and good foundation, her face was pale, and her lips, which were supposed to be crimson, cracked into terrifying grooves. Her lifeless eyes were covered in black. Obviously, I don't know how long I've been crying. Surrounded by people, she could no longer hear the sound of others pointing and pointing. She smiled bitterly with blood all over her body, her slender hands gently copying the face of the man waiting on the pool of blood. Fool! Ichuan, you big idiot. I've been following you all along. Even if you just look back at me, it's okay. For you, I have changed all my bad temper. I don't fight, I don't smoke anymore, and I try to learn to be a gentle girl. Why can't you just see me? Why? I'm more beautiful than her. Smarter than her. Richer than her. More than her. The woman's choked voice screamed out in a hoarse voice as she spoke. I love you even more. Pearl-like tears can no longer be controlled, like a waterfall falling. On his face, he still stubbornly smiled. She should be hiding somewhere with her boyfriend now and laughing heartily at you. You're a fool. Stupid. Why don't you understand? How could she be free when she has a boyfriend with her? When you were a child, when you were bullied, it was me who covered you up. The one who steps on the horse is now being sent to you by my mother. Seemingly realizing that she had regained her true nature and was not the type that Ichuan liked, the woman let out a faint sigh in her heart. With lowered eyes, filled with sorrow. Suddenly, her tone became passionate. Lin Xian, I will definitely make you regret it, definitely. Definitely. Even if I kill you, Ichuan, this fool, won't be able to come back. On the unknown side of the woman, where no one could see, a real and illusory man stood quietly. My gaze was full of indescribable and inexplicable meanings. Fool, if you don't want me to do something foolish, wake up quickly. Wake up, my mother allows you to make a promise with your own body. Not right. You probably don't want to make a promise to me with your own body. Or is it that I, the King of Kings, am more willing to bow down? The woman paused again. She knew that men didn't like themselves, and he only had another woman in his heart. For that woman, he pursued her for 10 years. However, the result she still didn't even glance at him. What about the woman herself? I have been following him for 30 years. He also didn't look back at himself. The woman cried and laughed like a madman. Suddenly it seems that she sensed something, and the woman became even more insane. Ichuan, you're riding a horse. If you dare to die, I'll die with you. Do you hear me? You're not allowed to die. Asterisk 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 percent forward slash hashtag. Asterisk asterisk asterisk, harmonious language, answer her, only the noisy voices around her, woo woo, I won't scold you anymore. Ich1, don't die. I know you don't like me to use dirty language. I won't say it again in the future. You don't like me clinging to you, and I'm not clinging to you anymore. Don't die. I beg you. Don't die. Please. I'll tie her up and marry you. Don't die. I'm sorry. Ich1, I'm sorry. Woo 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 woo. The mournful cries almost echoed throughout the entire road. What women don't know is that a man who is exactly like the one in the pool of blood stands there and listens to her cry full of grief. Watching her heartbroken at the sight of her own death, she felt so heartbroken that she couldn't breathe. Clearly. It's me who should say I'm sorry. Oh my goodness, why did you only let me see everything clearly when I died? Why not earlier? Even a little earlier. Let yourself see her heart earlier. It wouldn't be so regrettable. But it's hard to buy $1,000. If I had known 10,000 gold is hard to buy. Life is a new beginning. Look, look, she's here, she's really beautiful. By the way, who is she? Sleeping Slot. She, Li Xian, is the class flower of class 7. You don't even know her, do you see? She's just like her name, she looks like a fairy. I used to have good academic performance, but recently, I don't know what's going on. My grades have suddenly dropped, and I heard that I was scolded by my teacher a few times. I'm so beautiful, how could I bear to scold my teacher? Although Tianxian is good, I still think Miss Wei from class 7 is the best, beautiful but down to earth. Don't do it. Our Wei sister is not down to earth. She is clearly down to earth, and I dare not have any plans for her. If you do, you can go up. I respect you as a man. Let me tell you, I have that courage. To be honest, it's hard for anyone to control us, Sister Wei. Class 7 is so lucky, beautiful women are all released to their class. As the class bell rang, the noisy corridor instantly became quiet. Ich1 stood dumbfounded at the entrance of class 7 in his third year of high school, holding a book. The strong smell of blood was suddenly replaced by the breath of youth, leaving him completely lost in place. Standing in front of him was Li Xian, who had been secretly in love with Bai Yueguang for 10 years. Despite the approaching college entrance examination and academic pressure, due to Li Xianxian's arrival, everyone's attention was still successfully focused on her, quietly discussing. In his third year of high school, he was in a period of youthful restlessness, and the boys even stared straight at the graceful figure. Li Xianxian and Ich1, you two are the only ones who haven't changed seats yet. Please change your seats yourself and let me know if you have any questions. It wasn't until the words of the homeroom teacher Chen Qian rang in Ich1's ear that he regained his senses slightly. It's not the familiar pale and delicate appearance, but the slightly tired face of the class teacher in grade 7 of high school. Is it difficult? Have I been reborn? Is it a dream? Isn't it? But the memories of the past are imprinted in my mind. There is also the pain of a car accident, the despair when lying on the hot floor, and the mournful cries of a woman. Everything is clearly so real. But now if it's a dream, let it continue. In his past life, he was blinded by lard, but in this life, he wants to find the girl who was solely focused on himself. Lin Youwei, you're late again. Speak of Cao Cao, Cao Cao will arrive. Seeing Lin Youwei's carefree demeanor, Chen Qian's breath stopped and his anger immediately rose. Isn't it just being late? What's the big fuss about? Great. This is Lin Youwei. Upon hearing this sound, Ich1's body stiffened a bit. Chen Qian exploded and said, do you know that there are only 100 days left until the college entrance examination? Every minute and second is related to your future destiny. One doesn't matter at all, the other hates iron for not becoming steel, and sparks seem to collide back and forth in the air. Old Chen, don't be angry. Anger can make you old. P.S. Newcomers and new books seeking support. Thank you to all the readers. For the first time writing an original article, I took the initiative to avoid lightning strikes for everyone. You can read chapters 1.30, and you can start reading from chapter 36. For the sake of my honesty, please give me your support, thank you. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. We have overcome difficulties together, so we sit together. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. We have overcome difficulties together, so we sit together. Chen Qian was immediately stunned. What's going on with each one? Is it because I didn't do well in the exam and got confused? Surprisingly calling oneself Lao Chen. Are you very old? You too, take your Chinese textbooks and stand outside for 5 minutes, reciting a 1,000-word classical Chinese essay. Seeing that the extermination master was angry and the heavenly immortals were no longer fragrant, the whole class dared not speak out and buried their heads in writing papers. Li Xianxian didn't say much. He found an empty seat for the two of them, put away his books, and sat down on his own. She knew that even if it was a monthly seat change, Ichuan would definitely choose to sit with her. Ichuan has good grades and likes himself. And it's the kind he really likes. He has been pursuing himself since high school. Not only does Li Xianxian think so, but everyone also thinks that Ichuan will sit with her. The homeroom teacher started teaching, and there was a rustling sound of flipping through books in the classroom. There are two worlds outside and inside the classroom. But for Lin Youwei, it's all the same, it's the world she doesn't like. Ichuan did not listen to the homeroom teacher's words and recited classical Chinese. Instead, he fixed his gaze on the girl dressed like a little girl on the side. She is very beautiful, with a standard oval face, double eyelids, big eyes, no blemishes on her face, and a hint of pride between her eyebrows. However, all of this beauty was destroyed by the impatience and carefree expression on her face at this moment. But soon, Lin Youwei closed her eyes and began to sleep. She didn't wake up last night and now she just wants to sleep. And punishment for standing is just a common occurrence for her. Even if she stands, she can still fall asleep. 5 minutes passed in the blink of an eye. For these 5 minutes, Ichuan only focused on looking at Lin Youwei, as if he wanted to make up for all the time he hadn't seen in his past life. Lin Youwei was sleeping, as if she had never slept in her previous life, so neither of them endorsed. Chen Qian was once again enraged. Lin Youwei, why didn't you endorse? Look at your grades, have you ever passed? Lin Youwei, if you continue like this, your life will be ruined. She won't scold Ichuan because Ichuan's grades are very good. So I can only curse Lin Youwei. Will this life be ruined? Ichuan's heart pricked a bit. It was very uncomfortable. In her previous life, Lin Youwei was destroyed in her own hands. In this life, Ichuan will never let her life repeat the same mistakes. Old Chen, as I said, getting angry can make you old. So, I assure you, next time Youwei's exam results will definitely pass. And her college entrance examination score is definitely above 211. Believe me. Facing the determined gaze of the boy, Chen Qian paused for a moment and let them return to their seats. If, as Ichuan said, Lin Youwei can be admitted to a school above 211, it would be a good thing. As a homeroom teacher, she certainly hopes that her students can be admitted to a good university and have a good future. But since entering high school, Lin Youwei has always been at the bottom of her class. Not to mention 211, even an ordinary college student may not be able to pass. Ichuan, this is not a joke. If you can't do it, the impossible thing is guaranteed, and if it cannot be done by then. Chen Qian doesn't want good students like Ichuan to be destroyed because of this. Teacher, don't worry, I can definitely do it. Chen Qian was taken aback again. The next second, by a stroke of luck, he nodded. Because this guy gives people a very convincing feeling. I've seen a ghost. My elder brother Chuan is so amazing that he dares to confront abyss extinction. Too manly. Is it my illusion? How do I feel like brother Chuan is different? Li Xianxian's mood is slightly complicated. But soon she let go of her worries. Overall, Lin Youwei is still his green plum. I heard that before entering high school, the two of them were basically inseparable. Later, when Yichuan fell in love with him, he deliberately kept away from Qingmei in order to avoid being overly concerned. That's also why Lin Youwei's grades are so poor. After the boy who was punished returned, Li Xianxian greeted him with a smile. It used to be the same every time, as long as I greeted him, Yichuan could let go of everything and come over. It's like recruiting a puppy, very fun. I also have a great sense of achievement. Yichuan's footsteps paused slightly. She is truly beautiful, with fair skin, delicate features, vivid, and full of youthful energy. Even the current popular little flower is going to pale in front of her. So it's not surprising that everyone's attention was drawn to her. However, when the boy skipped her as if he hadn't seen her greeting and followed another girl to a position near the window, Li Xianxian was completely stunned. Isn't there anyone here? We just stood together, which can be considered as sharing hardships, so we need to sit together with you. A very lame reason, but Yichuan said it very naturally. Lin Youwei immediately exploded. Are you sick when you step on the horse? What's the relationship between your punishment for standing and my mother? Sitting wherever you like, this is my mother's territory. Faced with Lin Youwei's insults, Yichuan smiled and didn't say much. After finishing speaking, he put the heavy backpack into the desk and sat down. This person is really impolite. But for some reason, when Lin Youwei saw his familiar expression, she didn't say the word roll on her lips. How annoying. Why is this person so annoying? Just now, I've been looking at myself. If it were someone else, she would have been kicked away by Lin Youwei a long time ago. But she couldn't bear to part with this person, she couldn't bear to part with it at all. This is the person she grew up liking. Forget it, just keep sleeping. Lin Youwei lay boneless on the table, continuing her unfinished dreams. Sleeping slot. What's the situation? I seem to smell the smell of gossip. Chuan Gu unexpectedly refused Li Tianxian's invitation. This doesn't look like my brother Chuan. The fact that Yichuan likes Li Xianxian is almost well known throughout the school. But no one knows about Yichuan and Lin Youwei being green plums, so everyone is curious about what happened between Yichuan and Li Xianxian. Life in the third year of high school was already boring, dancing with books and papers all day. Now suddenly, a big gossip appears, and everyone subconsciously wants to pursue the truth of the gossip. What does he mean by this? Li Xianxian awkwardly withdrew his hand, feeling that the realization around him was very piercing. I couldn't help but bite my lips and look towards the window. Over there, Yichuan and the little girl with yellow hair seem to look quite normal. One is sleeping, and the other is flipping through the papers. Why doesn't Yichuan sit at his desk? Is it difficult for him to really help that little girl get into the 211 exam? What should I do then? Compared to the prying eyes and thoughts of others, Yichuan did not pay attention. Lin Youwei, it's great to be back by your side. In my past life, I betrayed you and let your sincerity go to waste. In this life, I will definitely not. I turned around. Even though it has already broken your heart. P.S. Recommendation. Douluo. Starting from devouring Tang's 3 soul rings to become a god, end of this chapter. Chapter 3. This is not her style, Sister Lin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. This is not her style, Sister Lin. Speaking of the story of Yichuan, it is actually very simple. Yichuan and Lin Youwei were childhood sweethearts who grew up together. Everyone in the family thought they would grow up together. From Youwei's perspective. Before middle school, he also thought the same way. Until high school. He met Li Xianxian. She has a good personality, looks good, studies well, and in short, everything is good. Many people during adolescence will like such girls, right? Yichuan is no exception. Just because I was too introverted, I never expressed anything. After entering university, when he went to pursue him again, he was only regarded as an ordinary friend by others. However, although Li Xianxian did not agree to his own pursuit, nor did he agree to others' pursuit, which gave him unlimited motivation, this state persisted until Li Xianxian had a boyfriend. Her boyfriend, Yichuan, has met before. If we really count it up, he is actually much worse than himself. Although my family background is relatively good, I haven't made much progress myself. In other words, I'm just trying to grow old. And before the age of 30, he had a successful career and owned a company valued at 1 billion. The company's net profit is at least tens of millions every year. I originally thought that as a diamond queen, with a handsome appearance and a young and wealthy age, she would like me. However, during my business trip abroad, I fell in love with others. You are so busy that you don't even have time to accompany me. What I need is a boyfriend who can be around me at all times, rather than a husband who often travels and socializes without being at home all year round. I don't want to become a jealous woman. At that moment, Yichuan understood. The one who likes you, no matter how busy you are, will always be by your side when you need it the most. The one who doesn't like you, even if you pick the stars in the sky for her, will feel like you don't have time to be with her. Pick up the sword, I won't be able to embrace you, put down the sword, I won't be able to protect you. And Lin Youwei, a famous prickly student, elder sister, and younger sister of Henghai No. 1 Middle School. If Li Xianxian is seen as the existence of the white moonlight in the eyes of everyone, then Lin Youwei is undoubtedly the king flower, the earthly palace. If it weren't for herself, she would have a wonderful future. In the end, you will meet someone who loves her very much and live a happy and beautiful life. How could I be filled with deep emotions and make a mistake? Even if I distance myself from her and insult her no matter how much. She managed to catch up with her grades in the last few months and was admitted to the same university as him and Li Xianxian. Every time she is scolded, she actually feels very uncomfortable, but in the end, she always lowers her head first to pray for forgiveness. She likes herself, right? It should be said that she loves herself very much. Otherwise, I wouldn't have shown such emotions and said such words when facing myself covered in blood at the end of a car accident. In fact, the day before the car accident, they had a big argument about Li Xianxian. Later on, that apology was probably because of this. This girl really loves herself. It's because the moonlight is too bright that I couldn't notice her, right? Fortunately, he was reborn. Although everything went back to understanding, it gave him the opportunity to make up for it again. For example, Lin Youwei. For example, one's own parents. In his past life, besides apologizing to Lin Youwei, the one he most apologized to was his own parents. Because he was not with Lin Youwei, his father resigned from his job at Lin Youwei's father's company. So much so that later, after overwork, he suffered from liver cancer and died at a young age without treatment. At that time, even though he was already worth billions, he still couldn't save his father. Although Lin Youwei was lying on the table, she did not fall asleep. She can't figure out what Yichuan wants to do. Isn't he the most taboo about getting too close to her at school? I have sternly warned myself not to let my classmates know about my relationship with him. Why are you not afraid now? I fed the dog everything I said, right? No, it seems like we're in class now. Why didn't you hear him start writing or flipping through a book? I'm so annoyed, why do I still care about him? What does it have to do with himself whether he studies seriously or not? The yellow-haired little head couldn't help but flip over, opened its eyes, and met a pair of deep eyes. What kind of eyes are those? There was pain, happiness, struggle, and ecstasy. In the end, it condensed into an endless sea, and Lin Youwei felt like she was about to drown in it. I'm really annoyed. Lin Youwei left the back of her yellow hair to Ichuan again. What's good about causing you trouble? Are you okay now? I can't sleep in this class, can I? Ichuan actually has a lot to say to this yellow-haired little girl, but he doesn't know where to start. Reaching out to touch this restless little head, reaching into the air, a bell rang in the classroom. Ringing bell, the yellow-haired little head breathed a clear sigh of relief. We need to find a way to change the seats. Otherwise, we won't be able to live these days anymore. Ichuan is like a deadly poison to her. It's okay if she doesn't see it, but when she sees it, she can't help but want to get closer, even if her body is covered in bruises. At this moment, Ichuan was lost in contemplation towards the book. He did have good academic performance in his past life. However, it has been more than a decade since then. Reviving his life, he doesn't even remember the knowledge he learned before. I was originally thinking of taking notes for the little yellow-haired girl, but now I can't do it anymore. What should we do? Waiting online, it's quite urgent. Going back to system startup in the past. Ichuan's eyes suddenly lit up. System. The welfare of the reborn has arrived. Great. Going back to the past, the system started successfully. Check in or not. Suddenly, a panel that only Ichuan could see appeared before his eyes. Sign in. Sign in successful. Congratulations on achieving mastery of comprehension skills proficient in understanding ability. Ichuan called out the annotation of this ability from the panel. Mastery of understanding ability means the ability to remember and realize things. The next second, Ichuan felt his head pricked like a needle, and a piercing sensation hit. Immediately after, he seemed to open the door to a new world, and his whole being was sublimated and transparent. Pick up the textbook again and truly read it at a glance. Wherever the eyes go, the mind seems to be equipped with a universal dictionary, and without thinking, one can already understand its meaning. Bull batch. Ichuan couldn't help but give a thumbs up, looked up, and a pair of frightened eyes collided in without warning. The academic workload in the third year of high school is particularly heavy. Even after class, students are not willing to go home, but continue to stay and fight hard. Lin Youwei is definitely not one of them. The reason why she hasn't left is because her way out is blocked by someone, and she can't escape through the window because it's not her style. Sister Lin. P.S. Recommendation. Douluo. Starting from devouring Tang's 3 soul rings to become a god, end of this chapter. Why doesn't he sit at his desk in chapter 4? You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 5. Lin Youwei, let him eat you to death. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Lin Youwei, let him eat you to death. Learning is quite impressive. I have taken the first place in my grade several times before. Vivi, aren't you tempted by him? I heard he and Li Xianxian are a pair. But he is indeed quite handsome. He has a higher appearance than other nerds and is also outgoing. Lin Youwei froze for a moment and said nonchalantly, it's quite annoying. Wang Qian raised her eyebrows slightly. Annoying. Is it really annoying? Wang Qian just glanced at Lin Youwei with great interest and didn't say much. How about this? I'll sit here tomorrow and help you drive him away. Another yellow-haired boy said. He has been liking Lin Youwei for a long time. I just haven't penetrated this layer of relationship. Now seeing other boys around Lin Youwei, due to his male nature, he keenly felt that the new student who came today had an unusual attitude towards Wei Jie. It's very unusual. He doesn't allow other men to snatch Wei Jie away. Wei Jie can only be his alone. No need. What Lin Youwei wants to do, there's no need for someone else to take action. If you have to rush, she will also rush it herself. I'm really annoyed. Lin Youwei once again cursed in her heart. He kicked his notes into his backpack and casually slung them over his shoulder, standing up. Are you going to the internet cafe? I'm not leaving yet. Going online after class is their habit. Learning is impossible. Unless the group chatted and laughed, discussing going to the internet cafe tonight to continue the unfinished competition from last time. Today we're going to catch the other person off guard and make them regret offending us. Adolescent children are always so brazen. Lin Youwei skillfully poked her hand into her backpack, ready to take out a cigarette and lighter. She looked up, only to see a familiar figure leaning against the huge school gate. The sunset slanted on him, casting a long shadow. Ichuan's appearance is already good, coupled with the onset of puberty, her heart sometimes moves in a flash. Lin Youwei's heart involuntarily skipped a beat, and her hand, which had reached into her backpack, stopped and then shook her head violently. Is he waiting for that person? It must be. Lin Youwei steadied her heartstrings and gathered the courage to accelerate her steps as she passed by him. Unexpectedly, at this moment, the boy lifted his eyes slightly and glanced towards her side. With just one glance, Lin Youwei's newly mustered courage once again vented for thousands of miles. Enemies. This person is definitely an enemy of labor and management. Biting her teeth, Lin Youwei obediently approached Ichuan and gave a glance to the others. Get out of here. We'll talk about it tomorrow if there's anything else. The appearance of a perfect little daughter. Law. The yellow-haired boy who likes Lin Youwei is unwilling to leave here. He walked towards Ichuan in anger. Lin Youwei kept giving Huang Mao a glance, but he seemed to have missed it. Hey! Do you still understand the rules of Class 7? If you don't understand, let Brother Zhong teach you. Zhong Hong is also a popular figure in school and famous for fighting. With a little bit of money at home and a fierce personality, most people wouldn't take the initiative to provoke him. In Class 7, Lin Youwei is a well-known ruffian student. I told you to go. Before Ichuan became angry, Lin Youwei kicked her first. Zhong Hong felt pain, but was not angry. Instead, he was angry at Ichuan. You wait for me. After speaking, he glanced at Lin Youwei again and ran away. Wang Qian and another boy ran behind Zhong Hong. After Zhong Hong and the others left, there were only Lin Youwei and Ichuan left at the huge school gate. The sunset hits the two of them, casting long shadows. If you only look at the shadows, it's like two passionate lovers are. Lin Youwei, what are you overthinking? Aren't you being scolded enough? Ichuan, however, seemed unaware of the recent incident and asked. Do you have any cigarettes? Lin Youwei's heart skipped a beat. What does he mean? It's okay not to let yourself go online, I still want to control whether I smoke or not. The next second, Lin Youwei obediently reached into her pocket and took out a bag of huazi and a lighter, with a somewhat frank and lenient expression, as well as a strong resistance. Lin Youwei, let him eat you to death. Ichuan skillfully took the cigarette from Lin Youwei's hand, lit it, reached into her belt with one hand, and held the cigarette with the other. Swallowing clouds and exhaling mist, yet incredibly lazy. It should have been a beautiful scene, but Lin Youwei's heart sank to the bottom. What are you doing? Smoking at their age is clearly a bad student like her. How can a good student like Ichuan smoke? Lin Youwei reached out to smash the cigarette in Ichuan's hand, but he easily dodged it. Lin Youwei is extremely angry. Even if you're angry with her, there's no need for you to trample on yourself like this. You love brain. I am not a romantic brain. Ichuan took 2 sips and then stopped smoking. I'm addicted to smoking. What happened today has always made him feel unreal. With the help of nicotine, his mind was cleared a bit. Looking at the girl in front of me glaring angrily at me, and her face, which was on her deathbed with red and swollen eyes and aimless expressions, overlapping. Each one knows that everything is true. He has really been reborn. When did you learn to smoke? The girl's eyes were very vivid, completely different from the lifeless and hysterical image. Each one leaned back against the school gate, feeling restless and mischievous. What? Care about me? In his last life, he had been dealing with a group of old fogies in the market, and he had already acquired a ruthlessness that did not belong to him. Pie is just one of the facial masks he uses to decorate himself in his daily life. This girl is undoubtedly playing a big knife in front of him like Guangong. Bad. Can it be worse than him? Lin Youwei threw her cigarette and lighter into the trash can. Only fools worry about you. Afterwards, he angrily went home. Crazy, crazy. Is each one crazy or is she crazy? Why does she still care about him? The boy watched the girl's back as if fleeing, with a relieved smile on his lips. The appearance of deceit is also very cute. Why haven't we noticed it before? The boy looked up at the sky, and the sky was gradually getting dark. A huge full moon hangs high in mid-air. It seems that the full moon is not as bright as before. Because each one saw the starry sky, that was the most beautiful scenery. His home is 3 stops away from school, and he usually takes the delivery car home. Today, he chose to walk. Every step is fast, but it seems to be slow. Cars and people keep passing by. Everything is both familiar and unfamiliar. Everything from the past flies in my mind. He knew that at this point in time, his father had already resigned from Lin Youwei's father's company. In order to earn more money, he works as a laborer during the day and drives a taxi at night. It is precisely because he never stops day and night that his father's body breaks down early. Reviving a lifetime, he will never let his father repeat the same path as his previous life. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. 2 women even look the same angry. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. 2 women even look the same angry. The community where his family is located is called Jinyang Community, which was bought by Yi Lin before resigning. The housing prices in this area will soar in the near future due to the opening of the subway. Jinyang Community happens to be within the planned area. Many people became wealthy overnight and sold the houses here. Afterwards, some people became even richer, while others, after a series of retaliatory consumption, ultimately ended up worse than they are now. Each one's home is on the 10th floor. At this time, it is absolutely impossible for Dad to be at home because it is currently the peak period for passengers to take the bus. And my mother had already prepared delicious food and waited for me to go back. In my past life, after my father passed away, my mother's health also deteriorated day by day, and in the end, she could only lie in the hospital and rely on injections to make a living. Overall, he hasn't had a normal conversation with his mother for several years. The elevator opened and standing in front of the familiar door of room 1003, Yi Chuan took a deep breath and opened the door. The familiar aroma of the food rushed towards me. It was my mother's taste. Ogawa is back. I came home a little late today. Did the teacher delay the class? You go wash your hands, the food will be ready soon. Yi's mother's voice came from the kitchen. Seeing that Yi Chuan had not answered, she walked out of the kitchen with a spatula. Seeing Yi Chuan's eyes turning red, she was momentarily taken aback and immediately asked nervously, Xiao Chuan, what's wrong with you? Has the pressure of studying been too high lately? Your father and I are just your son, and we don't expect you to become Jackie Chan or Phoenix. Neither your father nor I are good at studying. If you feel really stressed, Mom can help you take a few days off and rest well. It doesn't matter if we don't get into the 985 or 211 exams, as long as you can support yourself. The next second, Yi Chuan had already walked over and opened his hands, holding her tightly in his arms. Mom, it's great, I can hear your nagging again. Yi's mother was taken aback for a moment, then lightly tapped him on the back with the handle of a spatula. Okay, so you've been complaining about me nagging. Ha! You're smoking. Okay, I've told my dad many times that even if your academic performance is almost negligible, you absolutely can't smoke. Didn't you see in the promotional video that those smokers' lungs have turned black? It's okay if Yichuan's academic performance is not good, but when she smelled the smoke on him, Yi's mother was unusually angry. In his past life, he learned to smoke because his father passed away, his mother fell, and the pressure was too great. At that time, he was still grateful in his heart. Fortunately there was Li Xianxian. Although she didn't accept herself, she didn't reject herself either. And they also often care about themselves. Until now, he realized that her so-called care was really insignificant compared to the care of that girl and her parents. Why? Why didn't you think of it at that time? Have you been blinded by pork? Mom, Yichuan's hoarse voice came, and Yi's mother suddenly froze. Xiaochuan, what's wrong with you? Is there something uncomfortable? Yichuan's hand tightened. I'm fine, I just want to hug you. Yichuan. Don't shift the topic for me here and say, when did you learn to smoke? Even the tone and lines of cursing him are the same as those of a little yellow-haired girl. These two are the most important women in this world. That's great. Don't worry, I didn't smoke. It was my classmate who accidentally got infected while smoking in the restroom. In order not to worry his mother, Yichuan chose to tell a small lie. Oh, go wash your hands and eat. No, my dishes are burnt. Yi's mother ran into the kitchen like a child, and there was a flustered sound coming from inside. Yichuan put down his backpack and went to the kitchen to help with the aftermath work. Mom, I miss Dad. He didn't come back so early. You have to wake up early tomorrow to go to school and want to see your dad. We'll wait for the weekend in 2 days. If you stay up later, you can see him. He and his father have always met in this way in their past lives. Although under the same roof, it feels like a different place. Yichuan decided to change this state in advance for the first time after being reborn. Mom, I'll call Dad to come back for dinner. Although Hu Hailan did not agree with Yichuan calling Yilin at this time, she did not stop him. Speaking of which, their family has indeed not sat together for a long time to eat. After finishing the kitchen cleaning work and washing his hands, Yichuan picked up his phone and dialed the long-forgotten number. The phone is connected. A noisy sound came from over there. Hello, Xiaochuan, what's wrong? Is there no living allowance left? Dad, buy a lottery ticket first, and transfer the money to you later. Upon hearing Yilin's voice, Yichuan's nose became sore and he couldn't help but cry. Hu Hailan was startled by Yichuan's sudden crying, but thinking about it, this child may really miss his father. After all, he is in his 3rd year of high school and the pressure is too great. Then he went to the refrigerator and took out another dish to stir-fry. Dad, I missed you. Can you go home for a while? Yilin had already arranged for him to buy lottery tickets, but when he heard that his son's emotions seemed to be off, he gave up his seat to the next person and found a place with fewer people. Xiaochuan, are you under too much academic pressure? Do you want your dad to help you take a few days off from school? Dad knows that the college entrance examination is coming soon, and you feel upset. Dad can understand. Not to say it's okay, but as soon as he said it, Yichuan sobbed even louder. Dad, I'm sorry. It's all because Xiaochuan is not good. Xiaochuan regrets it. Xiaochuan really regrets it. Once again, Xiaochuan must listen to you and your mother. Yilin's heart suddenly rose to her throat and she hurriedly said. Xiaochuan, wait for your dad at home. Dad will be home soon. Ogawa, remember, you must wait for your dad to come home. If it's a big deal, your dad will handle it. Yichuan put aside his sobs. Dad. I'll wait for you to go home, be careful. Okay. After finishing speaking, Yilin hung up the phone and hurriedly got into the car. He had originally planned to step on the accelerator, but thought of his son's instructions and managed to stabilize his speed. Hanging up the phone, Ichuan sat slumped at the dining table. Dad just said he's buying lottery tickets. He immediately opened his phone to check the latest lottery numbers for several issues. In his previous life, after Lin resigned, he became obsessed with buying welfare lottery tickets, hoping to have a dog's luck and never worry about food and clothing for a lifetime. So for lottery, there was something particularly impressive in his previous life. One issue of Yilin narrowly missed the $1 million prize by just one number. Because of this incident, he was angry for several days and couldn't eat or sleep well. Later, when he went for a physical examination, he had problems. However, for the sake of this family, he did not stop and instead chose to continue risking his life to earn money, which led to a series of tragedies that followed. End of this chapter. How about half the prize money for each person in Chapter 7? You are listening at novelfull.audio. How about half the prize money for each person in Chapter 7? Ichuan checked the previous lottery tickets. He remembers the lottery number for that issue, Red Ball. 07, 15, 24, 28, 31, 35, Blue Ball. 03, Lin usually likes to study the numbers of each issue. He would write it down in a small notebook, densely packed. At that time, he wrote down this number and originally intended to buy it according to the plan. However, he probably didn't have the luck, so he missed it. It seems that it hasn't been opened yet. I just don't know if it's the latest issue. It's okay if you don't, just focus on those numbers and buy them. This time, my dad's luck is in my hands. Ichuan wrote down this number. If the general direction of their rebirth remains unchanged, they will surely achieve this 10 million. After paying taxes, there are also 8 million. 8 million is a considerable amount for now. This community was later planned and only paid a few 100,000 yuan in compensation. Just consider it as a reward for Lao Yi's rebirth. Ichuan thought to himself. The door lock seemed to make a sound of opening. Ba-da-da, the door was opened from outside. Ogawa, Ogawa. Yilin's panting echoed through the entire house. Ichuan put down his pen and saw Lin with an anxious face. He walked over and gave him a big hug. You kid, you scared Dad to death. I thought you. Seeing that Ichuan was doing well, Lin choked up a bit. He is just a lone seedling in Ichuan, and everything usually depends on him. I suddenly heard his crying tonight and was scared to the death. I'm afraid he's under too much academic pressure and can't bear it. Dad. It's okay, I just miss you. Our family hasn't sat together to eat for a long time. Come back tonight to have dinner with my mom and me. It's not a big deal to lose a day's worth of money. Lin let out a long sigh. You. Lin knew that he was indeed owing Ichuan for the sake of making money. Okay, tonight my dad will give up money to accompany my son. After we finish our meal, the three of us will go downstairs and take a walk. Going downstairs for a stroll. Just right. Lin was unsuccessful in buying lottery tickets tonight, so we will buy them together later. It should be this issue. Lao Yi is back. Go wash your hands and eat. Yi's mother took out the vegetables from the kitchen and said something to Lin. Okay. Yilin immediately smiled and went to wash his hands. Oh, I haven't bought the lottery tickets for tonight yet. You kid. But Dad missed 10 million. He said he missed it, but Lin didn't regret coming back. A family of 3 sitting together for dinner is much more reliable than buying that unreliable lottery ticket. It's okay, when we go shopping later, we can grab a few numbers and maybe have a surprise. Lin was slightly taken aback. Aren't you a kid who doesn't like Dad buying lottery tickets? He always says that such good luck can't happen to us. It's better to rely on one's own efforts. Ichuan really doesn't believe in luck. However, he now has the luck code, so it doesn't matter if he trusts it. Lao Yi, how about if you win tonight and share the prize money with me in half? If I really win, I'll give you everything. So what? Who made you me? Stinky kid, no big or small, actually calling you lousy Lowy. Yi Chuan sat next to Yi Lin, and he reached out just enough to pat his shoulder. Yi Chuan didn't hide, allowing him to pat him. It wasn't until I had enough that I realized. Growing up and being beaten by my dad was also a happy thing. With such a man, Yi Lin's depressed mood has been swept away these days. The stinky kid has become more sensible. He, as a father, feels warm in his heart. After the family finished their meal, Yi Lin sat on the sofa and paid attention. Yi Chuan was originally planning to help his mother wash dishes, but his mother refused to say anything. So, he sat on the sofa with Yi Lin and studied the lottery together. Lao Yi, what size do you want to buy? Yi Lin is struggling with two numbers. I personally lean towards this group of numbers, which I researched for a long time before coming up with. Yi Chuan glanced at the missing winning number from his previous life. This is really this issue. Old Hu said he wanted to buy this group, and he said he had calculated it. Maybe this group will win. Lao Hu is a colleague that Yi Lin met at a taxi company, and he is also a good uncle. Like his father, he likes to buy lottery tickets. Two people often pair numbers. Yi Lin had already decided to buy Lao Hu's set of numbers, but unfortunately, Yi Chuan called and was unable to make the purchase. Let me take a look, Lao Yi. How about you buy both sets? No, you can only buy one set at a time, otherwise it will drive away your luck. Yi Chuan laughed heartily, but old Yi still believed in this at critical moments. Lao Yi, this way, if I buy Uncle Hu's set of data and you buy your set, you'll get us a score of 5 or 5. Yi Lini summed up and patted his thigh, saying, okay. If it really works, your mother wouldn't have to work so hard. In Yilin's life, the most sorry thing is that one is his own son, who lacks companionship. One is his own wife. I have to go to work and come back to cook for the whole family, clean up after washing the dishes. Yi's mother still wanted to clean up. Directly pulled out by the father and son of each one. Mom, Dad has already rested tonight, aren't you willing to rest? Yi's mother smiled and was led out by the father and son. Two people on one side, holding her arm. A family of 3, all of whom have good looks, have also gained a lot of popularity along the way. Mainly, some young ladies are secretly watching each one. You kid, you have my style back then. What is your youthful demeanor? Wife. I was wrong. I only have you, how can you have any style? This is quite similar. Yi Chuan followed behind them, looking at the deep affection between their parents. Happiness is actually very simple. After walking for a while, the 3 of them entered the nearest welfare lottery station in the community. There are already many people trying to get rich overnight through this simplest way. Just is it really so easy to get rich overnight? Yilin immediately lit up his eyes and went to queue with a bumpy look. If it's really what your kid said this time, if I hit, I won't touch this thing again from now on. Yilin always believed that luck could not be used up all at once. Leave some for future generations. The next day, at 6 o'clock in the morning. Yi Chuan woke up. He doesn't want to wake up. Yu Guang caught a glimpse of his tender palm and knew that he had been reborn. Having to take the college entrance examination, we need to bring that girl back to our side again. Give her a perfect life again. Also, give yourself a plan to recast glory. At 6:30, I finished washing up. Yi's mother's breakfast is almost ready. Pick up 2 sandwiches and drink the milk on the table in one gulp. Mom, I want to eat spicy skin shrimp tonight. Leaving a sentence, he opened the door and walked out. Left Yi's father and mother looking at each other. This kid. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The Sun Rises to the West. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The Sun Rises to the West. His home is only 3 bus stops away from the school. Ichuan plans to run over. He felt that after his rebirth, his body seemed to have become much stronger. Not the vibrant mental energy of adolescence, but rather a feeling of being completely refreshed from top to bottom. There is an inexhaustible force. It's like being tempered. This feeling was confirmed when he ran all the way to the school gate without blushing or panting. Surprisingly, he has really become stronger. I used to run hundreds of meters in a physical education class and feel panting. The needle doesn't poke. Feeling happy, I caught a glimpse of a handful of yellow hair in the afterglow. Ichuan leaned against the school gate, waiting for Xiao Huangmao to fall into the trap. Lin Youwei had insomnia last night. Her mind was filled with thoughts of Ichuan. As long as you close your eyes, you can see him swaying in front of you. I couldn't sleep in the end, so I had to get up and read the notes he gave me. As a result, I couldn't sleep anymore. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come to school so early today. Enemies. What an enemy. Lin Youwei wanted to ignore him, but the boy had already strode up to him. Breakfast. Lin Youwei was lost in thought as she watched the sandwich being forcibly stuffed over. My mom did it. She knew at a glance that it was made by Aunt Hu, and she often ate it when she was a child. Before entering high school, I could occasionally eat it. The rice cooked by Aunt Hu is very delicious. Why not eat it? I'll eat it if I don't eat it. Ichuan reached out to grab it, and the next second, the sandwich had already entered the mouth of the yellow-haired girl. This process inevitably touched Ichuan's fingers. Moreover, just now Lin Youwei exerted too much force and almost ate his fingers as well. In the end, it only narrowly touched the lips of Q Bullet. Ichuan's breath stagnated. He is not a young novice. What kind of scene have you never seen before, dominating them all in your past life? What shape have you never seen before? He just held on to the last step for that unattainable dream. Now the original memory has been awakened, coupled with it being early in the morning. Lin Youwei looked at Ichuan, whose eyes suddenly turned red and her breathing worsened, and didn't understand why he suddenly did this. Until she saw a beautiful figure walking towards them one by one. Xian, the question you just asked me, I'll go back and think about it before giving you an answer. 2 people seemed to be discussing the topic. Bai Yueguang seemed to have missed Ichuan and walked straight past them. Confirmed, these 2 are in a cold war. Fool, even though he cares a lot, he still pretends not to care. She is not a fool herself. After finishing the sandwich in a few bites, Lin Youwei turned around and walked towards the classroom. I'll go. What did I see? Behind them, Wang Qian and Zhong Hong looked at 2 familiar figures in front of them, one in front and one behind, as if they wanted to see a ghost. Is that really Sister Wei? Did the sun come out from the west today? Wang Qian looked up at the sky, still hanging steadily on the eastern horizon like a salty egg yolk, as if mocking the few single dogs. The sun is normal, that's why Sister Wei is not normal. How did Ichuan do it? Surprisingly, overnight, she transformed Wei Jia from a big sister to a 3-good student. Miss Wei really wants farmers to turn around and sing, and get into the 211, right? When the class bell rang, Chen Qian looked at Lin Youwei in her seat in surprise several times. Indeed, with a familiar yellow hair in her eyes, she had just begun her formal class. Let's give everyone the freedom to review in the remaining time, do more questions, and study more problem-solving ideas. After Chen Qian finished speaking a long string of words, he left the remaining time for them. In the 3rd year of high school, most of the time I rely on myself. And Lin Youwei started sleeping on the table as soon as she entered the classroom. She thought she would suffer even more from insomnia when she saw Ichuan. As a result, smelling the familiar scent, he quickly fell asleep. Damn it. Yi-Chuan must have put some kind of poison on himself, right? Anyway, the sky is big, the earth is big, and sleeping is the biggest. I don't know how long it took, but Lin Youwei felt her nose itch as if something was moving. Ache. The class with only the sound of flipping books was suddenly broken by this loud sneeze. Yi-Chuan. You have a problem. Why don't you let me sleep? Although Sister Lin's academic performance is not good, she has never disturbed the study of other classmates. Of course, even if she bothers now, no one dares to say anything about her. Sister Lin sat back in her seat in a fit of anger. The teacher said, "You need to review freely." Review a ghost. Sister Lin casually took out a few books from under the table and placed them in the nearby trash can. I still proudly raised an eyebrow at Yi-Chuan, as if saying, the teacher said to review freely, and I will sleep. What can you do with me? Excuse me for sleeping, right? I lost my book and I need to learn a hammer. Yi-Chuan. I can handle it now. He smiled helplessly. It doesn't matter, he can also skip it. Take out your own book, like her, and throw it casually, accurately falling into the same trash can. Lin Youwei. Intentionally, this product must be intentional. Standing up and jumping over the table, Lin Youwei dug out the books they had just thrown from the trash can. He has good grades, he can't become a bad student just because he's sitting with him. Lin Youwei convinced herself like this. Take a picture of the book in front of Yi-Chuan, I don't know how to review. What's your reason for throwing books? Yi-Chuan chuckled inwardly. This little girl doesn't know how to review, so she just threw away her book. It's really not a worry. I'll teach you. He now has cheats and can easily understand what knowledge he wants to learn at a glance. Whether or not he wants to learn is not a big problem. A top student. It's just being stubborn. Teach her. Lin Youwei's heart twitched slightly. Previously, he also taught himself. But later on, he changed his teaching style and never paid attention to himself again. It must be to anger that person. You want to use me? No way. Yi-Chuan saw this girl's face changing like a rainbow, and he knew she wanted to be crooked again. It doesn't matter, the days ahead are long. Anyway, this little girl can't escape from her palm. Did you read yesterday's notes? Lin Youwei nodded subconsciously. Did you remember everything? Not again. I'm here to test you. Lin Youwei. She doesn't want it. As long as you combine the notes I have taken for you, you will find that the questions are very easy. She still knows how much she weighs by herself. But Yi-Chuan knew that this little girl had endless potential. Growing up together with her since childhood, it's clear to me. Yi-Chuan smiled and asked her a few questions. I will continue to reward you with breakfast tomorrow. Lin Youwei's eyes lit up, an ant whose breakfast was delicious. It tastes much better than what I bought outside. Is a scammer a puppy? The scammer is a puppy. A gust of fragrant wind struck, and Lin Youwei and Yi-Chuan were both stunned. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. I don't care about others' eyes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. I don't care about others' eyes. A beautiful figure passed by them at some point, and their footsteps seemed to stop for a moment. Li Xianxian. He was a person who had been persistent for a long time in his previous life. Persisting until the end, almost nothing. She held a set of 3-year simulated college entrance examination papers in her hand. The classmates around who were originally working hard to review suddenly perked up their ears to listen to the commotion here. No matter when, gossip is human nature. Everyone knows that there is a play between these two academic achievers. Li Xianxian really works hard, but every time he passes the risk. Most people selected by heaven are like this. Look, Li Tianxian took the initiative to find brother Chuan. I have to be my Chuan brother, who has good grades and looks handsome, even the class flowers are bowing down at my feet. Only I think our sister Wei looks better. She's just being sealed by yellow hair. If she's unsealed, she'll be the school flower. It's safe. Lin Youwei's body slightly paused. But instead of continuing to entangle with Yi Chuan, he chose to silently complete the questions he had set. The sky is big, the earth is big, an ant who has the largest breakfast. Just thinking about it now makes my mouth water. Yi Chuan was also slightly stunned. In his previous life, Yi Chuan couldn't explain who was right and who was wrong. Because he knew that Li Xianxian was treating him as a springboard in life from beginning to end. Her future does not have him, but he is everywhere. He knew her future was without him, but he still followed her everywhere. Generally speaking, a man with a hot brain would do this when he sees a beautiful woman. The less you can get, the more you want to conquer. But the result was covered in bruises and bruises. Suddenly looking back, everything came to nothing. Yu Guang caught a glimpse of the little yellow-haired head beside him. She is the best. In this life, since I have decided to let go, that person is just an ordinary classmate. The gaze between the two was silently colliding, as if there was a faint current flowing through them. That's right. A top student should be with a top student. Drama like a top student falling in love with a bottom student should not appear in real life. A talented person paired with a beautiful woman is a feast for the eyes. Lin Youwei also feels the same way. That's why I gave up on myself. Have I finished the question I gave you? Looking up, I realized that the beauty had passed by at some point. Other classmates found themselves guessing incorrectly and felt a bit embarrassed. Lin Youwei is unwilling to continue working hard on the questions. Even though someone is already there, they still want to come back and provoke themselves. Is it difficult for this person to want to eat at both ends? Lin Youwei pinched the pen with great strength, as if she were smearing sugar cane juice with hand dregs. Taking the notebook, Yi Chuan carefully examined it. Don't be fooled by Xiao Huangmao's absence, his handwriting looks as if he has been beaten up. However, her answers are all correct. Starting tonight, I will give you tutoring. Lin Youwei looked up in awe. White Moonlight has returned to her seat at an unknown time. Did I answer all wrong? Nervous, not really. This little girl is smart, but her intelligence is not used in her studies. We need to find a way to make her stand up. I promised the old class to improve your grades. If you can't improve, I'll lose face. Just because I'm afraid of losing face. Lin Youwei suddenly felt a little irritable. She reached into her backpack and fiddled inside for a while, then suddenly remembered that she had thrown away her cigarette and lighter yesterday. There is no supply going back. Yi Chuan touched his soft and cute little yellow hair. I did well in tomorrow's exam and will reward you with Ms. Hu's heartfelt bento. The lottery tickets bought last night will be drawn today. You can confirm if you have won by returning home tonight at the latest. Once the money comes down, let Ms. Hu quit her job. She won't need to work so hard in the future. Aunt Hu's bento. A certain yellow-haired girl was successfully pinched. Is a scammer a puppy? The scammer is a puppy. So far. She has breakfast scheduled for tomorrow. Bento, of course, will not be missed. During the end of class period, Yi Chuan and his classmates were chatting and laughing in the corridor. Although studying is stressful, it is also necessary to relax appropriately, let alone class 7, which is not a top class. Most people know their own details, but only a small portion are unwilling to be mediocre and attempt to change their destiny by making more efforts. Lin Youwei's friends have always been paying attention to the movements on her side. A few people usually make plans to smoke at the secret base after class. Today, she sat still in her seat, doing the exercises seriously. Sister Wei, are you really planning to reform? Just now, Li Xianxian seemed to want to find him, but due to Sister Wei's strong aura, she didn't dare to speak and ran away in despair. Wei Jie, are you probably not engaged in any transactions, such as helping to stimulate the heavenly immortal? That's right, only Miss Wei in the class has this qualification. Ah, Miss Wei, I was wrong. Hurry up and get out of here. Don't disturb the labor and management to do the exercises. She is determined to eat bento. Regardless of whether he uses himself as a wingman. The world of foodies is that simple. In the hallway, a fragrant breeze blew in, and when they saw someone coming, a hint of envy appeared in the eyes of the boys who were playing and frolicking with each one. In the end, they playfully left their seats for the two of them. With courage gathered, Li Xianxian asked in a low voice. Why don't you sit with me? It's not questioning, but a bit sad. She is truly beautiful. With a slight curl of the mouth, every move is pulling the thoughts of adolescent boys. It's not unreasonable to be played with and applauded by her in my previous life. Oh, well, I'm afraid it might cause you unnecessary misunderstandings. She has indeed heard all the rumors and gossip in the class recently. At first, I did feel a bit angry. Even deliberately staying away from him and not talking to him. In the morning, he deliberately pretended not to see him and talked to other boys. But gradually, she realized that doing so not only did not make her happy, but also did not make him actively come to find her. On the contrary, it pushed him further and further away. The college entrance examination is approaching, and if he doesn't help himself review, let alone 211, he may only be able to attend a regular college. Watching him getting closer and closer to others, and really wanting to help that person get into the 211 exam, I endured it for a day, and finally couldn't help it anymore. Only by using comprehension questions can we alleviate their relationship. I thought she had already made an active gesture of goodwill with him, and he would come back to me like before, stuttering and stuttering. However, another class had passed and he still had no reaction. Li Xianxian finally couldn't bear it anymore and came directly to question him. The result is to get such an answer. But isn't this exactly what you want? Why is it so sad? It seems like something important in life has been lost. Li Xianxian looked up straight at the boy in front of him. Before this, she had never looked at him carefully. The boy is really good looking. Long eyelashes and handsome features. Double eyelid, with bright and lively eyes. A gentle breeze blew his hair. Inexplicably, Li Xianxian felt his heart palpitate. By a stroke of fate, she said. You can sit with me, I don't care about others' looks. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Hell has no door, so he opens his own door and comes out. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 10. Hell has no door, so he opens his own door and comes out. After saying these words, Li Xianxian bit his crimson lips hard. It was originally an incredibly normal action, but some people naturally have a bit more flavor when they do it than others. For example, Li Xianxian. Many passing boys were stunned, their eyes looking back and their feet running in front. Bang 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 bang. The already narrow corridor was suddenly filled with flying chickens and dogs. Young girls are naturally thin-skinned. My face turns red and peach blossoms are tender, and my eyebrows turn green with new willow leaves. Li Xianxian is waiting for Yichuan's answer. Before this, she had never taken the initiative with any boy. If it weren't for the upcoming college entrance examination and the inability to find a clue while reviewing, I would be afraid of not being able to pass the 211 exam and being looked down upon by others. She doesn't want to talk to Yichuan either. He has already taken the initiative. If he doesn't follow the steps, he will be too ignorant. However, before she could receive Yichuan's answer, the corridor was already in chaos. Surrounded by the scent of hormones from adolescent boys and girls. The white moonlight is usually cold, and although it attracts attention everywhere it goes, it has never been in such a dilemma as it is now. Stamped his feet, blushed and unwilling to enter the classroom. At the moment of entering the classroom, there was immediately a commotion behind. Those who originally wanted to solve their physiological problems are not going. The person who originally wanted to go back to the classroom and work hard has also paused. A large group of people enthusiastically gathered around the boy with his usual expression. A few acquaintances even hugged his shoulder affectionately. Passionate as if they had just experienced a victory, they all became restless. Boys, sometimes happiness is a very simple thing. Okay, Brother Chuan, Ban Hua has even invited you to be his desk mate. Plus this time, it's probably the second time. If you don't move over quickly, I'll go if I don't go. Yeah, if you ask me, I'll go move immediately. Ban Hua, it's good to take care of my eyes. If it were to develop further, it would be even better. As the saying goes, the moon comes first from the buildings near the water. If it had been in a previous life, there would have been no need for her to speak much, and I would have rushed to get along. I can't even drive away. But now Yi Chuan lowered his eyes slightly, as if he had thought of something, revealing a gentle expression. The boys around immediately keenly smelled a sour smell called love. Hey, Brother Chuan, don't you still want to sit with Ba Wang Hua? With my brother's advice, Ba Wang Hua, you can't hold on. You don't want the ready-made white moonlight, but you want to chase after that person who is afraid of everyone. Brother Chuan, are you all right? He also thought the same way in his past life. Believing that white moonlight is the most beautiful thing in the world. Later on, it was discovered that the wanton display of the king flower was the most beautiful thing in the world. Ba Wang Hua, it's quite good. After speaking, Yi Chuan walked through a sea of people and entered the classroom. Brother Chuan, just call it, heaven has a way, you don't go, hell has no door but you have to enter. I don't know who shouted later. Is there no door to hell? If there is no door, then he will open one by himself. The seat was empty, and the little yellow-haired girl did not come back, just like herself, playing with her classmates. Pop. Suddenly, a fair palm slapped a notebook-sized paper in front of Yi Chuan. The yellow-haired little girl has finally returned. His face was soaked with sweat from running too fast, and the small hill was slightly undulating, lively and dynamic. Yi Chuan, if you want to go back to her place to sit, you can, but if I don't get into the 211 exam because of this, you'll have to call me Dad when you see me in the future. The tone is slightly lacking, it seems to have come back. Yi Chuan picked up the paper in front of him. Turns out she did the problem. The handwriting is slightly distorted, somewhat like hasty writing. However, he hadn't asked her to check his learning progress yet, but the little yellow-haired girl came to her door by herself. This behavior is very domineering. He likes it. Yi Chuan didn't even think about it. Who said I'm going to change seats? Well, if you pass the exam, you'll call me Dad. Lin Youwei was momentarily stunned. You're not changing seats. Yi Chuan extended his palm, high fives as an oath. If you dare to control the score and not take the exam well, you will call me Dad. Yi Chuan knows that controlling points is something that Xiao Huangmao can completely accomplish. High fives as an oath, I'm waiting for you to call me Dad. Yi Chuan's face turned black. End of this chapter.